Hello, welcome to Mindful Living Week. My name is Susan Piver. I'm a teacher in the Shambhala Buddhist lineage and the author of a book called The Four Noble Truths of Love. Today we're going to explore bringing mindfulness to your most intimate relationships. So anyone who's been in a relationship for longer than 6 months or a year or something knows that relationship, it goes through cycles. And these cycles are very unpredictable. And I've been married now for close to 20 years. And at one point, and we still have those cycles, but at one point we were stuck in a really bad cycle where all we did was argue. I don't even know why. Anything could cause us to get into a fight. You know, what do you want to eat for dinner? Or, you know, what do you think is the best way to get to this location we're going? Once we even argued about what time it was. I don't know how you can argue about that, but it was really brutal. And I'm not talking about a few days or a few weeks, it was a few months. And neither of us could figure out what was going on. Why did every interaction end up with hurt and anger? It was weird. And so one day I was sitting at my desk and I was crying, like just sobbing. And I was like, I don't know how to fix this. I don't even know where to begin to fix this. And then I heard a voice. I don't know where these voices come from. And it said, begin at the beginning. And at the beginning are Four Noble Truths. So as a longtime Buddhist practitioner, this meant something to me. So I was like, oh, okay, Four Noble Truths. I'm not sure how they can apply to my relationship since they're 2,600 years old, and first stated by the Buddha at a different time and a different day. But okay, let me think about it. So the Four Noble Truths of Buddhism are, first, the truth of suffering, that life is suffering, which does not mean life sucks. It just means everything changes, everything dissolves, and there's nothing to hold on to. That's painful. The second noble truth is the cause of suffering, which is grasping, means basically not wanting the first noble truth to be true and trying to set up something permanent anyway, which will always dissolve, so painful. The third noble truth is the cessation of suffering. It says you can stop suffering. You know the cause, grasping, stop doing that, and you will stop suffering. It's obviously not that simple. But the fourth noble truth is what is called the Eightfold Path, and it is the map for the cessation of suffering. And it includes things like, I don't know if I can say them all, but right intention, right view, right speech, right livelihood, right action, right mindfulness, right wisdom, right effort. Not maybe in that order, but those are them. So I was like, oh, okay, well, we got the truth of suffering, the cause of suffering, the cessation of suffering, and a path. How could that apply to my marriage? So I realized the first noble truth of love was that relationships are uncomfortable, and they just are. And it doesn't matter if you never even met the person, like you're going on a blind date. It's like, well, that's uncomfortable because you think, what if they like me? What if they don't like me? Or what if we fall in love and I get hurt again? And there's just this incredible discomfort. You don't even know the person. And then there's the discomfort of you've been with someone for 10 years, 20 years, and they keep doing that thing that you asked them to never do again, and they just did it again. So there's one thing no one really tells us about long-term relationships is that they are riddled with irritation. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, it's not a fun thing, but there's this discomfort that comes with living with another human being so intimately. It's an incredibly difficult thing to do. So across the spectrum, relationships are uncomfortable. That's the first noble truth. The second noble truth is the cause of suffering, which is thinking that they should be comfortable is what makes them uncomfortable. So we think that we're going to find the one, and that when we do, certain problems, if not all the problems that we have in our life are going to disappear. We're going to feel safe. We're going to feel secure. We're going to feel snuggled, which those are all good things. And I hope everyone will find those things and feel those things in their loving relationships. But it turns out that the point of a relationships, if there is one, is not to make you comfortable, but to stretch your heart's capacity to love. So when most people say they're looking for love, in my observation, that's not really what we mean. We're not looking for love. We're looking for someone to make us feel safe. We're looking for someone to make us feel comfortable. We're looking for someone to help relieve us of the difficulties of being human. And, that's not how it works. And the minute you try to make it safe, it ceases to be love, because there's nothing less safe than love. It is beyond our capacity to control. So I don't know what it's called when you're looking for someone to just make you feel comfortable, but I know it's not called love. It's something else. It's a weird transaction. The third noble truth is that meeting the discomfort together is love. So usually when we have discomforts in our relationships, at least this is my experience, you look at each other. What did you do to make this happen? And how quickly can you stop that? And then the other person says, well, you did it, and you need to stop that. So in other words, you look at each other as the source of the discomfort with some expectation that you need to change. And that doesn't work. That's placing the responsibility for the discomfort on the other person, and the other person tends not to appreciate that. Not saying you shouldn't look at each other for, weird, irritating, or worse habits and qualities and try to work with them. That's really important. But love is not looking at the other person and going, how can you change to make me feel better? Rather, it is turning away from each other to look at the discomfort together, shoulder to shoulder. And a great partner is not someone who will drop everything to meet your needs and change to become the person you think you want. Rather, a great partner is someone who will look at this incredible flow of energy and cycles together with you. Now we love each other. Now we don't. Now I really like you and you don't seem to care for me. And now it's the opposite. So to look at those things together, not as problems, but as something you're experiencing together, something that actually is happening in your relationship. Because the truth is, there's sort of three entities in your relationship, although it seems like there's only two. But there's you, and there's me, and there's us. And the longer you're together, the more sort of vast and interesting and complex this us becomes. And when problems occur between you, instead of looking at each other, as I say, it's better to look at us. What is good for us? What does us need? I know that's not good English. So the fourth noble truth is that there is a way to work with it all. And this way has 3 steps. And all 3 steps are echoed in the practice of sitting meditation, interestingly. And the first quality is called precision. So in meditation, for example, you place your attention on the breath. Everything that's not breath is considered thinking. It's that one-pointed. So that's what mindfulness is, the ability to place your mind on the object of your choosing and then hold it there or return it there as you wish. So in a relationship, precision means paying attention to the other person as you would your own breath, with that quality of focus. Not to like them or dislike them, but to track them, to know them, to understand where they are in the time-space continuum. Precision also looks like something called good manners, which it's hard to overstate how important these little courtesies are in a relationship. And I've discovered that in my own relationship, and most couples that have been together for a long time, they don't fight over things like, do you love me? Or, I don't like your job. They fight over why didn't you hang your clothes up again? Or these little things that oddly accrue. And to demonstrate awareness of the other person's presence by thinking of them and noticing how they like to live and trying to accommodate their habits, without becoming, unless it's uncomfortable for you, that's a very precise gesture. And it's based on thoughtfulness. And you cannot create a strong relationship foundation without thoughtfulness. nor can you create it without honesty. So these are the two foundational qualities: good manners, honesty. If you can't be honest, please excuse yourself from the relationship. So, of course, being honest is not that simple. It doesn't mean blurting out whatever you think in the moment. It means knowing first what the truth is, and then being skillful about the way you speak it. The second step is called openness, which is mirrored in the meditation practice by allowing yourself to be as you are. In meditation, we don't try to turn ourselves into a peaceful Zen person. We just see, oh, now I'm peaceful, now I'm outraged, and now I'm bored, and you just sit with all of that. And this openness quality manifests itself in a relationship in a very shocking way. I was quite disturbed to discover this, actually. That, and here I'm going to tell it to you right now, it means acknowledging that the person you're in a relationship with has at least equal importance to yourself in the relationship. Because it just seems the way we're built, the first thing we think about is this good for me? And that's good, you should think about that. But there's someone else there too. And it's really easy and oddly common to think that the relationship is about you. And it is, but only 50%. So opening to the other person as having as much importance as yourself, or more, even sometimes. And the third quality is to, once you have this foundation of honesty and good manners, very powerful foundation, no relationship is possible without it. And then you add on top of that an open-hearted approach to each other, then something really wonderful becomes possible. You are able to encounter everything that happens in your relationship, good, bad, and ugly, not as a way to prolong the romance, because romance always, always ends, but as a way to deepen intimacy, which has no end. There's no way that you can say, okay, we've come to the end of intimacy. We cannot know each other better. I cannot reveal more about myself. I cannot open to you further. That never happens. Intimacy has no end. So, although you cannot promise to love anyone, even though the traditional marriage ceremony is based on that, because sometimes you'll love them and sometimes you won't. You can promise to seek always greater intimacy, because intimacy can include everything, all the feels. So, just briefly to recap, the Four Noble Truths of Love: relationships are uncomfortable. Thinking they should be comfortable is actually what makes them uncomfortable. Meeting the discomfort together is love, and there's a way to work with it all, with the outcome being indestructible intimacy.